You can do it, Dolly. Hey, welcome into the Ramon Foster Show. I said Ramon. I said that like how you say my name, B-Mac.
No question. Ramon, it's all the same.
I mess up my own name. I told y'all we get Bryant McFadden on here. I call him B-Mac. I've shortly called him Mac. But we about to start this show because he got limited time, but we're going to make the most of it. So as we get tuned, y'all send y'all questions in. You get ready for it because it's going to be a really good one. Here we go, B-Mac.
Yes, sir.
B-Mac, man, first and foremost, thanks for coming onto the show live for us today, man. It should be a good time. As I said earlier, legendary player in Pittsburgh, legendary guy to me, first and foremost. I appreciate you as you guys took me under, accepting me as a Pittsburgh Steeler, man, although I had to work for it, but it was cool. B-Mac, first things first, man. I got to ask you because I'm always intrigued with this. The actual Sports Illustrated cover. What was that like? Did you know that defense was that good?
Yeah, by the time we did the cover, it was towards the end of the season, right before the playoffs started. So yeah, we knew we were like legit. You know what I mean? Now, in regards to being involved in those legendary conversations, you know, to finish, which meant winning the championship. But when we did that magazine, that cover, and yeah, we were the top dogs, man. We knew it. The entire season, we were consistent football. Extremely physical, you know, that's the mindset in Pittsburgh from top to bottom. And we just were good at what we did. You know, Mike Tomlin always used to emphasize, you know, having the best. We had a lot of players that were playing at a high level. And the most important that we had, you know,
I think we got to wait on you to slow down just a little bit, man. If you could park. You're moving in and out right now, which isn't.
Oh, don't worry, I got you. Okay, yeah, my bad about that. I'm about to pull over in a second, but we just had a lot of fun, man. But yeah, we knew we were that group when we did that interview.
Did you see? And we have one of the comments up right now from Catboy that says, "Bring that fear back to Pittsburgh." Let me ask you this. Did you know that you guys had to play with that reckless abandonment like that? Or when did it turn? Because we can talk about it because technically it's the old NFL with the way the rules weren't as tight as they were now. What was the mindset of guys that was on the field with you at that time and yourself, even at cornerback?
Oh, man, that was the standard. You know, are you willing to stick your face in a fan? And for our viewers that are watching us, basically removing remember the old school fans that you have on the stand, and they had a fan in front of it, like you couldn't touch it. You had to, like, you know, if you took it off, then the fan was exposed to your hand. You know, that's what we used to say in our defensive room. Are you willing to stick your face in that fan? It's no different than having a ceiling fan above you and you put your face up to it. You know, that's fire. That's the type of battle that we were in week in and week out. And that's just something that was the mindset. I remember when I got drafted to Pittsburgh, you know, in regards to playing the cornerback position, you know, they wanted to know that I was a guy that was willing to tackle, that wanted to tackle. You know what I mean? It wasn't about tackling because you had to. It was about tackling because I wanted to. Right. And that's how we played the game. You know, Ramon, there's a lot of guys that play defensive football, especially in the secondary. They don't want to tackle.
No.
They only do it because they got to. For us, that was a necessity.
No doubt. We treated practice like that. Training camp was the exact same way. And the game, of course, I ain't going to say you played for free, but it was easy at that point for y'all.
Oh, no question. You know how training camp used to be back in the day. You used to have 907 drill, inside drills, was full line, full go. You know what I mean? Goal. You remember goal line drills? How it used to be intense? How intense it was? Yeah, that's where you really knew exactly who was ready to go to war with you and who wasn't. You know what I mean? So that's how we practiced. And that entire year, man, I remember Ramon going back to the off season when the schedules were released.
Yeah.
And they picked us to finish either third or fourth in our division based on how good Cincinnati was the year before, and Cleveland, of course, Baltimore. And we had the hardest schedule out of any team leading up into that 2008 year. And we saw that. We took it as a challenge. And we held 13 straight opponents under 300 yards. The first time that's ever happened in the NFL.
That's crazy.
Playing against one of the best, one of the toughest schedules in the league at that time.
When in the era where you had to go tackle, you had to impose your dominance, you had to be able to do everything that you said you was going to do also. That's tough. But I got to take you here too, because they brought up his name yesterday. Okay, I'm going to take you down this road we were on yesterday. I was like, I got to get B-Mac on because I knew you can elaborate on this topic. We had somebody kind of drop the name that, Coach Tomlin inherited coward players, and he had Dick LeBeau. And I want you to specifically talk about either one, Coach Tomlin, and also what was it like to play for Coach LeBeau too? What was that mentality like? I'd rather hear LeBeau first, and you can kind of lead into what it was with Mike T after the fact.
Man, Dick LeBeau, man, even to this day, I give my right arm to Dick LeBeau.
Today,
a guy who I highly respect. Even for you guys on the offensive end, you know what I mean? Offensive side of the ball. You probably didn't have a lot of, back and forths with LeBeau, but you respected him.
100%.
100, right? You respected Dick LeBeau, and he was always an even kill guy, never got too high, never got too low. He knew the game, very, very instinctive.
Right.
Just found ways to put us in position to be successful. And not to mention he played the game at a high level, was extremely good in what he was doing when he played in the National Football League for the Detroit Lions. And just some of the things he came up with in regards to putting us to be in positions to be successful. We was always so prepared, man. That's the thing. We was overly prepared week in and week out. And that's why success was so consistent for us. Yeah. He put us in positions, watching film with him, going over our notes. Yeah. I mean, things, our tip sheet, for a lot of fans, they don't know. Yes, we used to get tip sheets in the league in Pittsburgh, defensive back-wise. Be to look out for in regards to certain formations, certain plays and pre-snap alignment, just like that. That was Dick LeBeau. He was the brains of the operation. Everybody else that was under his staff just kind of trickled everything down to us, from Coach Mitch, Butts. When you talk about Ray Orton was there, Dan Perry, Coach Perry, DP. Man, we had some outstanding coaches, man. So Dick LeBeau was the mastermind, and he just put us in position to be successful. He didn't have to say a lot. We had sound leadership, that did a lot of great things for us in regards to keeping us focused and dialed in. And then for Mike Tomlin, and I say this all the time in regards to my personal career, going back to my college days at Florida State. In regards to the people that coached me, I was in football heaven. So at Florida State, I had Bobby Bowden, Mickey Andrews, two legendary Hall of Fame individuals in regards to coaching. I get drafted. I got Bill Cowher, Dick LeBeau, already in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And then in comes Mike Tomlin, who will be in the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. So the football knowledge that I was around, oh my goodness. Yeah. If I ever wanted to get into coaching, man, it'll be hell to pay. Because, man, I've really had an opportunity to observe a lot of knowledge football-wise in regards to coaching. But Mike Tomlin, man, is so freaking smart. Super smart, man. Yeah. Super smart. He's a leader of men. The most unique thing, and I don't know, you might agree with me or not, but his ability to motivate. That is something that a coach has to have.
I didn't prep you for that. I did not prep you for that at all, B-Mac. This is your words right here, because I said the exact same thing. What's the head coach's job, B-Mac?
You got to be able to be a leader of men, grown men, but you also have to have the ability to motivate any given time, even when we have a below 500 record, when we can't get anything right. You got to make us feel like we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Nobody can stop us. And Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in doing that. He has these Tomlinisms where he says these things that you like only he can say. You're like, what the freak? You remember how when he was saying it, it's a 5-star matchup because we in it? You know what I mean? The standard is the standard. Absolutely. Our job is to put your hand in the pile to try to hoist the sticky Lombardi. He was like, why he kept calling it sticky? Oh, yeah, by the time it gets to everybody, it is sticky. You know what I'm saying?
Sticky. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So little things like that. that got us going. And there's no other coach better than Mike Tomlin in regards to that element, especially when you factor everything that goes into his ability to get us prepared when it comes to playing the game of football.
No doubt about it, man. And B-Mac, so the Steelers at a point right now, they've gone super heavy free agency on the offensive side of the ball. I think all signs point to the fact that they need some defense. You had the legendary Joe Green come out and say stopping the run. Cam Hayward has kind of said he need a guy or two. But I look at this draft and everything's pointing to the fact that they might need a lockdown corner, B-Mac, because rush and coverage work hand in hand. What do you see from the young guys coming out this year as far as, and we'll get to them in a minute because I know everybody wants to talk about Pat Peterson, but what are you seeing from these young corners and safeties coming out this year, and who you kind of got your eye on? Can you play with one of them's teammates? I mean, one of them's dad too, by the way.
This defensive back class, specifically speaking of the corners, is an extremely deep class. Boy, they got some guys, man. The depth at that position might be the deepest out of any position. And the thing that I like about the corners, they're all long. I'm talking about you got a bunch of 6-footers that can run, that extremely athletic. In the words of Mike Tomlin, they got hot tape as well. Hot tape to back everything they've done in regards to pro days and in the combine. So for us, you're right. The coverage side of things and the rush, they go hand in hand. If you got a dynamic pass rush, it helps the guys in the back end. If you got a dynamic group of guys that can cover, it helped the guys that are putting pressure on them. So in regards to Pittsburgh, I think having the 17th overall selection in the first round, you can go a few different ways. I think two things happen. I think either they draft offensive line or secondary, right? Now it depends on how things fall in regards to players that are selected. But I think those are the two things that will happen. Now, you talk about Joey Porter Jr. Yeah, no question. I'm a bit biased. I played with Senior. Know what type of dog he was. The apple don't fall too far from the tree.
Right.
So he got a lot of bark inside of him as well. Extremely long, 6'2", very, very lengthy. Yeah. He's always around the football. Extremely coachable. Mm-hmm. He's just a good guy. He fits that Pittsburgh mentality. He know about it growing up around in that environment the entire time. I think he's a guy that can come in and instantly be an impactful player for us in the secondary. You know what I mean? So we just got to wait and see. Hopefully he's there when we select. If not, man, they're a handful of guys that could definitely be a big time strong contributor for the Steelers in year one, in my opinion.
Yeah. With that being said, at that position and in today's NFL, I won't correlate it to Pittsburgh and how we've always done stuff, but at that position, what's most important in today's NFL for corners specifically, and corners and safeties in today's NFL, the way they got to play, is it the physical side or do you want a ball hawk, B-Mac?
Man, listen, Ramon, if you can get somebody who can get that football.
Yeah. Get the football.
Get the football. If you can find an individual that can get the offense extra possessions, that people pay top dollar for that. Yeah. Turnovers, sacks and turnovers. Think about this. Guys that can get sacks get paid.
They do.
Guys that can get interceptions, they get paid.
They get paid.
You know what I mean? So that's the unique thing about, in regards to secondary play. And I can say this too as well. When you talk about a lot of defenses that create turnovers, they usually do a great job putting pressure on quarterbacks.
Yeah, they do.
They usually force the quarterbacks to throw the football when they're not ready to throw the football, which would warrant turnovers. So that got to be an opportunity for, when you look at the mentality of the defense, already having a ball hawk in the secondary and Micah Fitzpatrick, continue to add another one. That's not an issue. I think everyone will welcome that.
No doubt. And that's where we go right now. Randy Wagner already hit us with it, B-Mac. Hey, B-Mac, did you help influence Patrick Peterson's decision to sign with Pittsburgh or with the Steelers?
Man, listen. Hey, Randy, thank you for your question. I say this all the time. Pat was a Steeler before he became a Steeler.
Why you say that?
When Pat was in high school, I was already with the Steelers.
Yeah.
So anytime that I was down in the offseason or I was training, getting ready for training camp, I would have Pat with me. Yeah. And oftentimes I was training with a lot of teammates from the Steelers. Yeah. So he would hear our stories. He would be with us when we train in the way how we worked, how we grind, how we pushed each other. And of course, we were working out with other guys from other NFL organizations. But Pat just being around the Steeler way, older guys like James Ferrier, Ike, myself, Will Gay, Ricardo Coakley, a handful of guys that played in Pittsburgh, and he was just soaking up everything that we were doing on the field, getting ready for the next season, hearing the stories. So that's why I said he was already a Steeler before he became a Steeler. He knew about the Steelers culture.
Right.
And it's funny, when he got to Arizona, we used to always have conversations. He's like, these guys do things differently here than what I hear how you guys do it in Pittsburgh. So he knew about the Pittsburgh way. So did I influence him? No, I didn't. He was, like I said, he was already a Steeler. And it comes full circle, life. Yeah. I mean, because when I played 1 year in Arizona, Pat came out there to check a game out with me while he was at LSU. Right. He gets drafted to the Cardinals. Bam. I was there for 1 year. Then eventually towards the end of his career, he get an opportunity to go to Pittsburgh. Not only go to Pittsburgh, but wear the number I wore as well. That's cool. What I mean? So that was super dope. And he said he did it because of me, wanted to show me some tribute. And I appreciate that. And all I said was, I know one thing, Pat, the last family member that wore that 20 got his hands on a sticky Lombardi. Yeah. So you already know what the standard is, man. But yeah, he's fired up. He's always been a real big fan of Mike Tomlin and vice versa. And he's ready to go. He's up there right now trying to get things in line, for off-season regimen and stuff like that. But he's fired up, man. And I hope the fans are fired up as well.
Yeah, we had Jared Devil just asked that question too. Did you have a sense of pride when he took that number 20? Man,
I felt like a proud father.
Yeah.
Because Pat was playing around about getting number 7, and boy, Steelers.
They let him have it.
They let him have it. Steelers Nation wasn't going for that. Like 7? No, slow your roll. No, sir. They were jumping on Pat, and he was having fun with it. Yeah. So we did our podcast, all things covered, by the way, for everyone that's tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, listen to our podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend.
No doubt. Absolutely.
And I was asking him, we were like, what number you going to get? And he's like, man, I don't know. We got to see what's available. And I think the very next day he was in Pittsburgh and he called me. He said, Matt, man, you see what number I got? I'm like, no, what you got? And he was like, man, well, check social media. Yeah. Man, I saw it, Ramon. Man, I felt like a proud father, man. He's like, man, I wanted to make sure it was okay for me to rock it. You good? I'm like, huh? What do you mean? Yes.
Absolutely. With that being said, too, you two do work together. You're family members too, B-Mac. So tell us about what y'all do, they can hear him and hear you too, man.
Yeah, man. Pat's my cousin, man. Much younger than I am. But yeah, man, we have a podcast that we've created about 3 years ago. It's called All Things Covered. Of course, we talk all things, not just sports. Entertainment, social content. Everything. Pat is a big time golfer. We've had John Rahm on, one of the best professional golfers in the country. We talk everything. So if you're a fan of podcasts, if you're a fan of different YouTube content, give us opportunity to get your eyes and your ears. Not to mention, if you're a Steeler fan, we're talking Steeler stuff so far. And it's the thing about our podcast. Of course, with me having the Pittsburgh Steeler ties, I've had a bunch of Steelers on. Mike Tomlin, Bill Cowher, Mel Blount, TJ Watt, Juju when Juju was there.
Yeah.
Chris Hope, Larry Foote.
It's the place to be.
Jerome Bettis.
RC.
Man, it's been RC. It's been a lot. I gotta get you on there.
Man, just give me hit my text, man, with that Droid phone you got.
That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna put me on front. You're gonna put me on blast like that.
My bad.
Yeah, I got that new Galaxy, that James Bond edition.
No sir. Doubt. Let me riddle me this though, B-Mac. When it comes down to Pat Peterson saying, man, he can move to safety. Is that like a natural progression somewhat too? And the only reason I bring that up, because if they do take a first round corner, having him on the field still is huge. If he moves back to safety and being able to, raise up a young guy, which is the same way y'all did with Will Gay, right? Mm-hmm. He got on the field. Like, where are you at with a guy going from corner to safety like that?
When you talk about a Hall of Famer who sees the entire field extremely well, there's no limit to what they can do in the secondary.
Yeah.
And the thing about Pat P, he talked about initially when he had conversations with Mike Tomlin, being versatile, moving around in the secondary. And the more ball hawking players you can have in the secondary at one time, that's a plus. Pat, he's one of the more, I think he's the active interception leader in the National Football League right now, if I'm not mistaken. If not the active leader, one of the top 3 guys. So you talk about having him and Micah Fitzpatrick and whatever other additions they make, along with some of the other guys they have, those are playmakers, they make plays. So I guess we got to wait and see exactly how they utilize him, but he's prepared to play team ball. You know what I mean? Whatever they need of him, he's willing to do so to try to, hoist that sticky Lombardi.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We had somebody earlier ask this question, B-Mac. I know we got to get you up out of here real soon, man. But
hey, I see somebody say, don't listen to Ramon. Androids is the best. Is that Jared Kraft? Yes, sir. Androids is the best. Yes, sir.
I don't nobody care about all that, B-Mac, man. It is what it is. But Coach T came out recently and said that 2010 defense was probably what changed the NFL. I saw it firsthand. I practiced against it. Somebody asked me, has James Harrison ever got me in practice? And that little arm bar rip he does? He got me when I was doing scout team reps, man. Like, it was a different era. B-Mac, you agree with that? Where you at on that, man? Because I saw some stuff that probably should have been outlawed.
If some of the things that occurred in 2010 happen now,
what?
A lot of fines and suspensions.
Oh.
Man, Debo was putting people to sleep every week, especially they play for the Browns. Man, I think he got, in that 2010 season, he got a few guys. Colt McCoy went to sleep. Josh Cribbs went to sleep.
And they were teammates.
Mohamed Massaquoi went to sleep.
Massaquoi. That's the one that I think finally shut it down was Massaquoi.
Man, Debo was putting people to sleep left and right, boy, for Cleveland, especially for Cleveland. So, yeah, the way how we approached the game, playing physical was something that's what we were supposed to do. Yeah. Now, back then, they called the game in a different way than they do now, deserving. So we all know why. But, yeah, when you talk about kind of having an imprint in the trajectory of the rules, no question is the Steelers had a lot to do with that. The defense, specifically speaking, James Harrison. If I'm not mistaken, I think Debo got fined $75,000 that entire year for hits.
Yeah. And that's old NFL, so that was a lot of bread back then, man.
No question.
That was a lot of bread. That's a lot of bread. Now, what am I talking about, B-Mac?
That's a lot of bread, period.
Anytime, man. Exactly. Last one, man, and I know you got a roll is this. Pittsburgh fan 412 asked the question, what cornerback does B-Mac want us to draft this year?
Joey Porter Jr. is my number one.
Give the breakdown again for the new crowd. What'd you say? Long, rangy, pedigree?
Long, lengthy, rangy corner, knows the Pittsburgh way, 6'2", very, very athletic, coachable guy, just an all-around football player. I love him. I love his game. Yeah. Secondly, if he ain't available, Ramon, Devon Witherspoon from Illinois.
They got two coming out this year, right? They got is it a safety in the corner?
Yeah, but this is the corner I'm talking about, number 31. Listen, if you talk about somebody who don't mind getting in a fight, in a bar fight, a backyard brawl, Witherspoon, he covered like Darius Slay, but hit like Brian Dawkins.
Oh, wait, serious.
Hey, when we get done, look at his highlights and just text my phone and say, B-Mac, either I was right or I was wrong with my assessment on Devon Witherspoon.
Okay.
When I tell you he will stick his face in the fan, my only concern with him is two things. Will his body hold up based on how physical he plays and how many times he's going to get fined?
But see, let me go ahead and be selfish. That's what a guy like Pat Peterson is for.
You're right. You're right. And the thing I like about Devon Witherspoon, he's so confident in his ability.
Yeah.
Like he is a confident guy. I mean, he's a guy that believes that he is that guy, and he shows out week in and week out. I'm not driving a minivan. Who said I'm not driving a minivan?
3D.
3D. No, I'm not driving no minivan. Hey, that minivan is specific for soccer dads, right? You know, I don't know why soccer dads got to have a minivan. They only got one child in the car. They got one kid in the car, but they got a big minivan. And it's usually a Chrysler, by the way.
It is.
No, I'm not driving a minivan.
B-Mac, that's awesome, dog. And you said it like 3-4 times, and I saw somebody ask that question a second ago. I keep saying this the last one, B-Mac, but you keep giving us great content. But what does it mean is two things. It's this one right here. What does it mean as far as nameless great faces? What does that mean to you? Because Mike T said that you heard him say that too.
Well, you know, that's basically, I think he was talking about Cleveland.
Yeah.
The Browns.
Yeah, it was.
You know, and basically nameless. If you're nameless, you don't have a name.
Yeah.
Or you don't have a name that people respect.
Yep.
You know, great faces. You think about great faces. It's just a face. Right. So that was kind of a smart slight, I think, towards the opponent that we were facing. Nameless great faces. Come on, because you know, if you're going to get some legit contenders, you know the name. Like you playing against Pat Mahomes, you're not gonna say Pat Mahomes is a nameless great face.
No, he's him. He's the 5-star matchup.
You're not gonna say Joe Burrow is a nameless great face.
No, absolutely not, man. It kind of morphed. I will say that when we were coming up, well, in my years, too, it don't matter who you play. It only like we got cocky there. I'm gonna be real with you, B-Mac. It don't matter who we've always been that way. Yeah. Everybody that we line up against on that day, they nameless great faces.
No question. But when he said it publicly, you know, but for us internally, man, it's not about who we playing. It's about us. As long as we in it, it's a 5-star matchup, man.
Because we in it.
No question. Because the Steelers are in it. It's not about who we play. It's a 5-star matchup because we're in it. People are coming to see us play. Period.
Yes,
give them a show.
No doubt about it. Pittsburgh fan came back with that, man. It's a 5-star matchup because always we in it, B-Mac.
Yeah, we in it. It don't matter who we playing. We could be playing the Little Sisters of the Poor. Guess what? It's a 5-star matchup.
No
it's a 5-star matchup. Them Steelers in town. You know how we travel, man. I told Pat P about it. I said, listen, you about to if they have a great, oh my goodness, that's the thing too. When the Steelers are winning, you can't do no wrong in Pittsburgh.
See, that's the other side of it. Like it's a rabid fan base, man. It is.
Man, you want free groceries?
Yeah.
Steelers, you get whatever you want. You can't do no wrong when the Steelers are winning in the city. And everywhere we travel, our fans take over.
Yeah, they do. You know how many times I was gonna say coming here and having like the entire lower bowl be black and gold.
Man, I used to love when we used to go to Cleveland, and Cleveland would be talking for about a quarter. But their fans were so annoyed because our fans would just take over, and our fans were so disrespectful. That's so disrespectful to go in somebody else's house and just take over their house.
Yeah. But
that's what our fans used to do.
When you win and you good, you do that. And to your point a second ago, the standard has always been the standard. And on your way out, man, I put up some really good comments for you too, man. This one I thought was probably the best one. It looked like you just got shaped up. They said they need them beard genetics. Okay. That was one. Okay. Team Droid for life. That was from Dwayne. You feel me? Oh, that's good water right there. Good hydration.
Water, that's all I drink. Water, that's all I drink.
No doubt, B-Mac, man. I know you got to roll, dog. I appreciate your time. We can have you back anytime you want to.
Anytime. Next time I'll be stationary. And for all our viewers, I actually pulled over, so it's not a safety hazard. I'm in an undisclosed parking. I need to figure out where I'm at anyway. But I pulled over. But the next time you have me, I'll be stationary to give you guys everything you need. But thank you for having me. And like I said, for all our viewers, man, all things covered is the podcast. We have the newly signed Steeler, Pat Peterson, as my co-host. We family members. We love to have fun. Man, please tell a friend about our podcast. Subscribe. We have a YouTube page as well. Big time Steeler content. Like I said, we've had some of the greats on, and we will continue to have more current Steeler players on as well, especially with Pat P being a part of the family.
No doubt about it. Y'all go like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with everybody. B-Mac's podcast, man. Appreciate your time, B-Mac. I might hang around a little bit longer, man, and try to sift through some of this foolishness that they sent our way. You be safe, man.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me, bro.
Appreciate it, B-Mac. Told y'all we get him. I delivered, and that's where we are, man. B-Mac with a lot of good content. I thought it was really cool to see him give a specific name. Devin Witherspoon said is a dog. Also said his first pick as far as cornerbacks go is, of course, Joey Porter Jr. Will we get that pick? I'm not sure. But I know he's a name that's been ringing loud as far as the connection to Pittsburgh. But I'll say this, no matter what, having a guy like Bryant McFadden's cousin on the back end, Patrick Peterson, I think you hear him kind of allude to that a little bit as far as in the offseason training with how he went with his teammates, Ferrier, Will Gay being in that group, Ike Taylor being in that group, and how they all just kind of stuck together. I know a lot of people hear us say that all the time. Like, man, the Pittsburgh locker room is just different. The absolute culture of what we do is different from everybody else, and that's always kind of been the case when it came down to how we operated. And for Pat Peterson to kind of grow up around that, I really look at that and say he know what it is as far as the expectation of playing inside of that stadium and how you're supposed to play when you got that black and gold jersey on. So I'll say this, I feel a whole lot better about Patrick Peterson signing because of he's been around a guy like Bryant McFadden and others that's what you need culturally. You need guys to be able to carry on that history. You need guys to be able to allow what you've laid down with guys before them, guys like B-Mac, guys like James Harrison. On the offensive side of the ball, Ben, of course, I always bring up Willie Colon, Max Starks as those guys. Before me, Alan Faneca was one of those dudes, Marvell Smith, that everybody played their part. And when you walk inside of that building, and almost every single person I've had on here, or you guys talk to or listen to another podcast, they have kind of said, we do stuff a certain way. There's order. I don't want to say it's law and order, but there's order inside of a Pittsburgh locker room. So having the ability to have a guy like Pat Peterson, who's a respected vet, bring that culture and keep that culture inside of the locker room, I think it'll be good. And specifically on the secondary side of things too, considering how it's a need for that lockdown corner. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we end up picking. Vegas TJG said, is it Porter Jr. or is it Peasy Jr.? You know what's crazy? And it's probably going to be adopted. If Coach Tomlin does draft Joey Porter Jr., he literally grew up inside of that facility, 3400 South Water Street in Pittsburgh. He grew up there. I remember seeing him being worked out by our team trainers and just having the ability to be in the weight room and understand what was what when it came down to being a young pro. Coach Tomlin's probably going to call him JJ. That's probably who he's going to end up being inside of that building, and probably to our fan base too. Either way, with the moves we made offensively, with how Omar's kind of come out and said, we're going to be aggressive. If there's a need for us to move up and there's a need and we know another team has another need, then we're going to try to get in front of them. I think that puts us in a really good spot as far as what this team's going to do this year in the draft. I said it the other day, and I'll say it again. As it stands right now with this Pittsburgh Steelers team, I feel as it stands, we are a better team now than we were last year. I look at the signings in the OL, the depth that you just added. Them 5 starters going uninjured for the most part of the season, that doesn't happen often. So I look at that and I kind of say to myself, they needed that depth. I say again, D-line, cornerback, and linebacker should be addressed in this draft, and potentially another wide receiver too. That will be a huge jump for us when it comes down to where we are as far as competing in today's NFL. Again, like and subscribe. If you missed the beginning of this show, we will repost it. It'll be on all platforms, of course. DK, I saw y'all said it's time for him to get fired if he missed another show. And you know what? I agree with y'all. DK keep missing these days, man. It's going to be our show is what we're going to turn this into. But it is what it is. Thank you guys for tuning in to us. DK and I will be back tomorrow. And peace, good people.